Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Alchemagic Stoichea deck profile for May 2021. This is one of the new decks for the Stoichea Nation, focusing on more of the grand blue aspects of the original Magalenica, now combined together with Zoo to form Stoichea clan. It's really awesome. The Alchemagic also focuses on the use of a good number of different normal orders to gain different abilities based on having normal orders in your drop zone, along when you activate your orders on the field using the new unit Zorga for that power that can provide. Very, very happy with the results of the deck. It's definitely a unique take on a Cardfight Vanguard deck, focusing more on the orders than the actual units themselves. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the start deck, we're starting off with our starter, which is Dream Nibbling, the one wrote upon. If you want second, draw a card. Needed more for the deck for more of the setup, and it gives more of the ghost feel than the original starter we had for the Sylvans in Stoichea. For the grade 1, we're running one of the Rancor Chain on Vanguard Circle once per turn. You Soul Blast 1, draw 2 cards, choose up to 1 order card from your hand, discard it. If you did not discard, choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. So it's set up more for the fact that you do draw this card and then just set up more of your normal orders in the drop zone for you to use when you use Alchemagic. And on rear, if you played an order this turn, it gets plus 2,000 power. So even if you Soul Blast this card, we have some of the other normal orders in the deck that can easily call it back onto the field later on during the game. So you really only need that one copy to then build up the additional 2,000 power every time you use a normal order on the field. And, oops, going out of order there. We also run the 1 Black Tears Husk Dragon for our grade 2 ride target in the ride deck. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, choose up to 1 normal order from your drop zone, put it into your hand. So that recycle power will also make up for the Rancor Chain when you ride over it. For that option, this one doesn't really have a specific ride chain, but more beneficial cards that you definitely do want to focus on being the ride targets in the deck altogether. And then lastly, also just the 1 Mysterious Rain Spiritualist Zorga for the final part of the deck. It gives you more of the original setup for this card. So very useful to run all of these cards for the setup in the ride deck all together. And then moving on now to our additional grade 3s that we run the deck. 3 more of the Spiritualist Zorga. It's just great when this unit would be played a normal order. You may bind a normal order with a different card name from your drop zone. This is Alchemagic, basically. What you do with this card is when you use Alchemagic, you bind another one in your drop zone. And if you do so, you resolve both of those cards along with the normal order that you played. So gaining basically 2 normal order abilities for the cost of just the one that you played. So setting up more and more in your drop zone makes it all the better for sure, and being able to rely on those cards for all of your different plays. So you want to run 3 of this card additionally in the deck, just so you have all of the Persona ride targets as well when going with the ride deck, and the additional units you'll call from the deck as well. For the backup grade 3 in the deck, it definitely feels weird because I'm expecting more and more, grand blue looking type cards, but with Stoichea being a mix of Magalenica and Zoo, we also have some, Mega Colony, Aqua Force type of cards, and one of them is Hydraulic Ram Dragon. On rear, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if your bind zone has an order card, this unit gets plus 5,000 until end of battle. So with it, you can easily set up the normal orders in your bind zone using your Alchemagic with Zorga. So this card will be attacking for 18,000 alone with each one of its attacks. It has Persona Ride, but most of the time, you're going to rely on Zorga alone for all of that setup. And that's it for the grade 3s. For the additional grade 2s, we're running 3 more Black Tears Husk Dragon. On rear, if you played a normal order this turn, it gets plus 5,000 power. So it's a continuous rear guard ability if you play an order, giving the plus 5. So with that setup, it's great for the ride target for the additional recycling power of your normal order, but being able to just have that rear guard pressure as well makes for a good card to have as setup for additional power units on your rear guards, because you're definitely going to guarantee run a normal order at least once a turn when playing this deck. For the additional grade 2 in the deck, I also run 3 Inheritance Maiden Hendrina. When this unit is placed on rear, you may discard 3 cards from the top of your deck. So the big part of discarding from the top of the deck is to set up more and more of the different normal orders that we run in the deck, because then setting up more in the drop zone means that when we resolve one of them, we can then bind another one from the drop zone to basically fulfill the needs for Alchemagic, giving us the abilities for both of them on the field all together. So 3 of this card is great for that setup. setup and on rearguard, retire this unit until the end of the turn, and the next time you would Alchemagic an order and play it. You may choose not to pay all of its cost. Instead, for the setup, you will Soul Blast for that cost. It's really great taking away from that as well, just by retiring this unit, making up for the Soul Blast, because we only have so much soul to work with in the deck. So relying on Hendrina for that additional setup made me consider running 4 of this card and just dropping the numbers of Husk Dragon. It's a thought to consider, but I just wanted to balance out more of the fact that we have the power units and the setup available with all of our cards already. And that's it for the grade 2s. We're running low numbers for all these cards, but the normal orders, we'll explain our reasoning for that in just a bit. For the grade 1s, we have the 1 from the Ride deck. So even with the low numbers, we're not really in too much trouble for actual, setup for a good number of our cards. But we're running 4 of the Sentinel, which is Planner Prevent Dragon. For those of you that don't know, the Sentinels have a new ability. If you have, basically, when this unit's placed on guard circle, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand, discard it. So if you just have the 2 Sentinels in your hand and you guard with the 1, if you only have, like I said, the 1 other card in your hand, you don't have to discard it. So after this one last Sentinel resolves, you have the last one to guard 2 big attacks against your opponent. It definitely does come in handy more. I've been in a lot of situations where I would have 2 Sentinels in hand and I would just have to discard the 1 because that's all I had for meeting the requirements. I love this new way they've made Sentinels work in the game. It definitely does help just, to protect yourself later on also. And then the last of the grade 1s, just running the 1 Conspiring Mutant Admantis. When this unit is placed on rear, choose one of your other rear guards. It gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. So great setup with our Husk Dragon, just being able to have this card gain 5,000 and another additional 5,000 thanks to Admantis. You really only need the 1. Once again, more setup going with a bunch of our different normal orders that we're running in the deck, which we'll now be going over now, because that is it for the grade 1. Moving on now to the normal orders. It definitely feels weird saying that because I'm normally just used to saying the different grades we run in the deck, but now the normal orders also have grades, but I just decided to group them all together for the cards we play. Moving on now to those normal orders, I run 3 Cursed Souls, Squirming in Agony. This is the grade 3 normal order. You play this card with the Soul Blast of 2. Just remember with Hendrina, taking away the Soul Blast can be a big help with that for sure. Or just when you use it for Alchemagic, binding it from the drop zone and not having to pay the cost at all with this card. You look at 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them and call it to rear, and discard the rest. If during Alchemagic, call up to 2 cards instead of 1 to rear, and all of this card's order units called get plus 5,000 till end of turn. So once again, a big play off of Alchemagic with this card. Being able to focus on that setup gives you more of a lineup for more cards on the field, since you're going to have a good number of cards in your drop zone that you want to rely on as well, using this card for that play. And I also run 2 Tearful Malice. You play this card by retiring 2 rear guards, choose and draw a card and put this card into your soul, and then you countercharge 1. So making up for the countercharge is just more setup, giving you draw power, can potentially draw into more normal orders for you to use, and you don't have to use any counterblast or soul blast for this card. You're just taking rear guards away, which then you can easily call back with some of the other cards we run in the deck, with one of them being 3 of our Grief and Despair Rejection. You play this card with counterblast 1, and remember that the normal order zone will be in the top left corner where the Stride in the imaginary gift zones used to be. That is where orders will be played from now on. If your Vanguard is Mysterious Reign Spiritualist Zorga, choose 3 of your units and they get plus 10,000 power until end of turn. So one thing you've also may notice is our low number of grade 1s. So we need more of a power boost for our grade 2s and 3s we may have in the front row. That's where this card comes in handy. The plus 10,000 for 3 of your units means you can include the Vanguard as well. So combined with Persona Blast and then just this overall power, you can have a total of 20,000 power to the front row, so you won't even really need the need for any back row units if you don't have them. If you have them, it's just an extra bonus to rely on. And one of the best normal orders to run in the deck is Spiritual Body Condensation. You play this card with a Soul Blast of 1. Choose a card with a grade equal to or less from your Vanguard from your drop zone, call it to rear, and it gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So a low cost to play this card, and the fact that it just easily sets up any grade you need as long as you're on your main go-to grade 3 in the deck, which is Zorga, can be called out from the drop zone onto the field as long as you have the soul to pay. And once again, if you use Hendrina, you don't have to pay that cost at all altogether. So very, very useful to rely on this card for basically counting for a good number of what you may need for your setup on the field altogether. And that is it for the normal orders. We'll now move on to the trigger lineup. For the grade zeros, we've already gone over the starter in the ride deck. So for the deck, I am running 4 critical trigger and 4 front trigger. If you want to try more of the pressure of the critical trigger, you can give it a try. I just like the power boost that the fronts provide with all the other additional power that we're providing for the normal orders in the deck. And critical triggers also just adding extra backup if your opponent no guards your Vanguard attack. I like that balance altogether. If you want to run any other additional numbers, you can always take out the draws, but still a little bit of hand consistency comes in handy with this lineup. So I like to run the rainbow lineup in the deck altogether, with the last spot instead of the 4 draws being for our over trigger, which is the Source Dragon Deity of Blessings. And with this card having the additional effect along with the over trigger 100 million, you draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets a critical +1 until end of turn, and all of your front row gets plus 10,000. And if your damage zone has more cards than your opponent or equal to, I believe this was a mistake on their part, for it, you heal 1 damage. So it's basically an additional heal trigger in the deck. You can only have 1 over trigger in the deck, but still a great help for sure for any of the plays you may rely on. And lastly, of course, the normal heal triggers, just running the LG Pixie. I feel it's more fitting for the deck, just like all the other triggers, while the other ones going more for the Sylvan Stoichea deck from the start deck. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. After reading up more on Alchemagic, it was definitely an interesting take for a Cardfight Vanguard deck, since it focuses more on the normal orders. You get more of a, spell kind of activation kind of deck, more than, using monsters. You're going to be using that normal order zone for a lot of your different plays. So definitely a different take on a Cardfight deck if you're looking to change your play style for the deck altogether. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.